I knew the big 4-0 was coming, and I was a couple of years away from it, and I was already thinking, oh, Jesus, I'm going to have like the world's worst midlife crisis. So I probably had all that stuff percolating in the back of my brain. And I don't know where the idea came from specifically, but I remember the moment it hit me. I was talking to my buddy Tom Schnauz, a guy I went to NYU film school with, who now is a producer on Breaking Bad and has written some of our best episodes. We had both been on the X-Files together, and it had ended about 3 years prior to this conversation, and we were both thinking, Jesus, you know, it's kind of dry. It's kind of dry out here. What are we going to do next? And we were kind of bemoaning our situation as working writers who at that moment were not working. And like, what are we should do, get in some other line of work while the getting's good. And I think I'd be a good greeter at Walmart. You know, I think I'd be good at that. I'd say hi to people, you know, wave. Talked about, you know, working at H&R Block. And then he said, what about if we just buy an RV, pool our resources, buy an RV and put a meth lab in the back? And I laughed. I thought it was a funny, obviously he was not serious. Hopefully it goes without saying. But the idea kind of, as we were talking on the phone, just boom, into my head was the idea, was the inspiration, or not the, I don't know what it was, but suddenly I was intensely intrigued, I'm not even sure where it came from, by the idea of a guy who would do such a thing, specifically a guy, suddenly it struck me that what would be interesting to me as a viewer and as a writer would be, what if it was just like essentially me? What if it was, in other words, a guy who's never broken the law, has never, you know, barely littered or jaywalked, you know, never broken the law in any serious way, suddenly finding himself being a meth cook, doing something reprehensible and illegal. And that idea really just, boom, right in the middle of this phone conversation, kind of hit me full blown, which is kind of rare because ideas usually are much slower in coming. They don't usually come in sort of eureka moments, at least for me. But this was a rare eureka moment where suddenly this character, who at that point I didn't have a name for, but who was eventually going to be called Walter White, you know, this character, this guy, why would he do such a thing? He's doing it for his family. Why does he need to do it for his family? He's got to make some money real quick before he dies. He's got cancer. You know, this whole thing kind of assembled itself together in Lego fashion very quickly and abruptly, and it's a wonderful thing. You wish you, having had very few eureka moments, this one is still very vivid for me, and I wish I had more of them. You know, having a eureka moment makes you wish you had many, many more of them. But this was a good one. And it, you know, so that's where the idea came. That's the idea, the moment the idea hit. As to where it came from, I always said, you know, Breaking Bad is about a guy having the world's worst midlife crisis. Of course, in the first episode, he finds out he's not midlife at all. He's right at the tail end of his life. But I was thinking about midlife crises in general and turning 40, and maybe all of that contributed.